We are live, we are direct with Dan. How are you doing, brother? How are things?
Really, really good. Thank you for asking, Jay. Sunny outside, having a good close to quarter four and a good finish to quarter four for 2024.
No, absolutely perfect. And look, really want to honor you in terms of the work that you have done and the work you are doing in terms of the industry. So I really want to honor you for that.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. And your help has been instrumental in that, as you know.
No, perfect. So just describe, I mean, obviously in your own right, you were successful. You are successful in terms of the sales element of things. Just describe a little bit about your background in sales, in terms of, yeah, just so they get a bit of context behind it.
Absolutely. So I've been a salesperson since the age of 18. So that's 21 years. Doesn't look it, but it feels it for sure. So 21 years of experience in sales through a solid mix of business to business and business to consumer products and industries. Most recently was in the real estate space, and earlier this year decided to transition and launch a sales coaching program, which took a little bit of time to get off the ground, and I think I wasn't particularly clear, I suppose, with the way that I wanted to go. And since then, things have been great. We've signed some clients. I'm enjoying doing the coaching part of it, and also kind of opened up some more doors in other areas within the greater coaching industry that perhaps I wasn't aware of 2 or 3 months ago. So a lot of learning, a lot of experiences, but yeah, really enjoying it, actually.
No, perfect. So maybe tell them in terms of like what wasn't clicking before we tapped into the whiteboard method, and in a second we'll open up and have a little look at your offer. But what wasn't working beforehand, before we started to work on your business?
Yeah, I think, and it's important that you say that actually, because I wasn't really sure actually what wasn't working. I thought I was doing everything right. My coaches were telling me that I was doing right. I was an action taker in the group and going to my calls and putting the content out, etc. But I think what really hit the nail on the head was when we did the Ikigai session, and the who do you want to serve question, I think, really hit home, and that kind of got me a little bit more clarity on who my ideal target market is, and I think from there, that's when things really started to move, which was huge.
Yeah, cool. And in terms of the way things moved, let's maybe share my screen so we can have a little look at, how things did move. So yeah, describe the whole element of this. Like we tapped into this beauty. Yeah, explain a little bit about how this worked and the power of this.
Yeah, I think we got on the Ikigai, and I think it was pretty apparent that the person that I serve, most and have had most success serving has been women in business, and trying to help these women become better at sales. And I think that had been happening organically throughout my career. And when we really touched on it and you asked the questions of who do you like to serve, it kind of got me thinking all the way back to my first sales roles back when I was 18 about I've always had a strong female companion within the workspace. What got me into the idea of coaching was seeing the meteoric rise from my assistant in real estate to become my partner in real estate in just 3 years, going from zero sales experience to selling $1 million properties fully on her own steam. When I was originally trying to help real estate agents, the first clients that I signed and the people who had the most interest in that offer were all female. So it was very organic how that came there. And I think stepping away from the real estate focused sales into more of a broad general sales, I feel matched my experience much better. And it's something that I'm able to provide better content to my clients.
Okay, no, absolutely perfect. So let's maybe dig in, and because I think we all speak about the power of having a method. How important was it to create this method? Because I harp on about this method to everybody and how important is it. But was this a shift where you thought, actually, I've got the qualified lead to client method that I can lean into? That's so key.
Yeah, for me, I've always been a big advocate of qualification. I think it is, for me, the most important part of the process. And I think a lot of people ignore it or brush over it. It's fluff. It's the discovery part. It's not the juicy, where's the money? The money's in the closing. Let's handle the objections and go home, which is great. And if you can do that, that's fantastic. But the people that I'm trying to help and serve are not experts in sales. So they may have some objection handling ability and some knowledge, but and we've spoken about this 1,000 times, if you haven't qualified your client properly, you really don't know what it is that they want. So when you come to the objection handling, you've not got the information to put back to the client and said, well, you told me this, so that's what we're going to do to move forward. And that for me is really, really powerful. And I think the offer or the opportunity to try and get female sales coaches out there jumping on calls with qualified leads. They know what the product is. They've got a pretty much good idea that they can afford it. It's not wasting time. And I think, trying to sell something to somebody who doesn't want to buy it or not really sure that they want that or need it is miserable. So no wonder a lot of these people have a negative approach towards sales.
That makes sense.
And you know what you're doing, and you know the person on the other side of the call is interested and wants to hear what you've got to say and what you're talking about and what you're offering. That's a completely different scenario.
Okay, no, that's pretty powerful there, getting people on. And look, and what I love about your offer is something that you stand by rather than something that sounds cool. And how useful was it to break it down into, number one, suitability of the people that are coming on, and affordability, and the salesperson's personality? How key was this to be able to break down your method into like 3 key cornerstones, which became like a triangle, right? Which is quite a powerful, like little mental model there. So how powerful was that to kind of break it down into these things?
Very, actually, because I found from kind of market research, if you like, or talking to people about the offer, and a few tweaks were made to make it more suitable, make it more affordable, because those were the things that I'd found. There's 1,000 sales programs out there. Everybody focuses on something different or has a different edge, etc. So what I'd noticed is that a lot of people have paid high ticket prices and got low ticket coaching. And as a result of that, people are a little bit scared of it. So I actually kind of launched a beta version of the offer, which was cheap and cheerful and short. And that has had so much more interest than the initial high ticket offer of, 6 months, 5, 10, 8 grand, whatever. I found a real, not so much a niche, but a lot of interest in a 2-month, $2,000 kind of a intense sales training. And that has been really interesting to do that. So the market has definitely fed back that the SAS has worked within my own coaching program. And since I made those tweaks, that's when we've got the clients coming in. And it's also enabled me to qualify people harder, and my qualification of more, are you suitable for my program than would you buy my program, is now, I'd say, probably about 80% of the dialogue when we're going through the DMs and getting to that sales call. So that's enabled me to cut down on the number of sales calls, increase my closing rate, and obtain more clients. Perfect.
How has the whiteboard method helped in terms of enrolling clients, in terms of, how's the whiteboard helped?
Everybody loves the whiteboard. I think as we said on the training this week, for me, what I love most about the whiteboard is it transports you back to a school situation where you've got that distance between pupil and teacher, and that automatic respect that comes with that, and the automatic kind of understanding and acceptance of what you're giving. The visual part, I think, works really, really well, specifically for people who are not extra comfortable in sales. It gives you an opportunity to slow it down. It gives you an opportunity to physically say, when we spoke about X, you told me Y, and it's right here on the screen in red that you wanted to get to this goal. What's holding you back? And it enables you to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like the visual, and if it's in their words as well, yeah, like it makes it even more powerful, right?
Absolutely, and I feel also it makes it does feel tailored as well. You pull up your whiteboard and it's blank. There's nothing on there, and by the time you finish the call, you've got a tailored offer. You've gone through the 4Ts. We've really broken down what are the pain points. We know why you're doing it now, what you've tried that hasn't been successful, and where you want to get to, which is the important part.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. I mean, you mentioned something, it might be worth touching upon it. Investment trauma. So
Yeah.
the I've invested before element of things. What would you say to people that are maybe thinking about investment? They've got the investment trauma, but what would make my program different? Like, what would make me different to almost, put aside the investment trauma and really focus on the whiteboard process?
I think that the first thing, with the investment trauma, I think we've all had investment trauma at some point in our lives, whether it's you bought something online and it didn't get delivered, or you paid for something and it didn't go through, and you were left in a situation where never again. I think the analogy of we've all probably had a bad haircut as well, but that wasn't the last time you let someone cut your hair. You've got to get over it at some point, and if you don't, and that's okay, but then that I think becomes more than of a limiting belief, and actually isn't. I think that's a surface level objection, and you really need to break down as what's actually underneath that. Is it time, money, or kind of a lack of self-belief? What makes you different, and what makes the whiteboard process different is it's not something that everybody's doing. And I think, as we discussed on the coaching call this week, that you're starting to see some copycats come out. And that for me is a huge pat on the back. That means that you're doing really well and you're doing something that's working if people are trying to unsuccessfully copy it. It's different, it's visual, and I think anybody can learn it. And I think that's a really key part, that you don't have to be Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, or any of these top guys to pull up a whiteboard with your client and make it powerful.
Okay, so the personalization factor there. No, I mean, I think you raise a good point. Look, hey, we've all been there, had a bad haircut, had a nightmare girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, but we find a way to bounce back, which is absolutely powerful. So no, thanks for sharing that. And yeah, again, like, just we're going to round things up, but what would you say are the top two things that you've found in this process of working together that's like, okay, these two things are some lessons or some principles that people should take in order to get some sales under their belt in month one, to get results in month one? So what two things would it be to get results in month one?
I think the number one, which any good coach should be offering anyway, but I think definitely something that you and your business are blowing out of the water and doing really, really well, and that's actually the accountability. And that's something that a lot of people will consider as low level. Everyone can say, hey, how are you doing today? But it's not. You've got your team are pushing for the KPIs, and we all know that sales is numbers. It's doing the basics consistently over and over and over and over again, and that's how you make money, and that's how you succeed in sales. So that is a huge part of what has helped me, and that's probably an area that I wouldn't have thought would have been a huge influence at the start of the program. And the second part is the delivery of the whiteboard. It's learning how to break it down for your clients, how to help them build an offer, and how to really reveal their pain and get to the point where that person needs your coaching program and they're telling you that they need it. That's been the two most important things for me.
Now, brilliant. Thanks for your views there. How can people get in contact with you? How can people work with you? Let them know how people can work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Facebook, Dan Max Williams, friends with Jay and plenty of other coaches or people out there that you may or may not have known. So starting to build a little bit of steam in the industry. So anybody wants any info, would love to share that.
Yeah, brilliant. And if there's anyone out there thinking it's okay for Dan, he's got the sales experience and maybe not me, what would be the one bit of advice, like the most pertinent piece of advice for someone who's afraid of sales, who's got this sales resistance? Like, what would you say to them?
Go for it. A lot of what I'm learning and putting into place has, I've become a better salesperson in the last 3 months than I had in the previous 20 years. So that's proof in the pudding.
Oh, wow. I'd like to know how. Yeah, I'm very curious, like selfishly, what's happened in the last 3 months specifically?
Join the coaching program. Simple as that.
No, fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
It's going through role plays. It's better understanding. It's getting other salespersons' views on how you're doing it. It's seeing other people's styles. It's access to information. It's accountability. It's like going from being a one-man band to joining a team. All of a sudden you're much more powerful. Yeah,
and I definitely agree with you in terms of like the whiteboard method has been going for maybe 3 years, but I've only taken it really seriously over the last 1 year and created the system around it so other people can use it. And I think when other people begin to get results with it, it shows that you've broken it down to such an extent that it's more accessible to everybody rather than just being in your head, right?
I agree, and I'm using the whiteboard sales, the whiteboard technique and my system to sell, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 lower ticket coaching programs. You're using it to sell higher ticket. Some of your clients, are selling 15, 20 up, and we're all using the same system. So the system works from here to here, and that I think is it's a real treat to have a system that is adaptable to all of it, because typically the tools you would use for a $2,000 sale are not necessarily the tools you would use for a $20,000 or $30,000 sale. And I think the anomaly of that is the whiteboard.
Yeah, no. And I've definitely enjoyed this breakdown. I'm looking forward to seeing, what you do in the future. Lots of people are going to be impacted in the United States, all around the world. And I know you're networking with different people, and I'm wishing you continued success in terms of what you do there.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jay. And I really, really appreciate everything that you've done for me and helping with the whiteboard and the community, etc. So thanks a lot for
that. Great work. Perfect. Nice one. Cheers, Dan.